How you going there? Okay. Um, First question. State full name and age. My name's Josh Sinclair. I'm 27 years old and I live in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. What do I do for a living? Okay. What do I do for a living? At the moment, I work in retail. So I'm sort of split between retail. I work at a place here called Rebel Sport. So it's like sports retail. So I do that about 3 days of the week, sometimes four. The other stuff I get up to, that's personal training. I'm currently building a business in personal training right now. So I've been working on that since about January, February. I finished university 8 months ago now, back just before January kicked off this year, and that was a Bachelor of Exercise and Sport Science. I have ambitions to be an accredited exercise physiologist one day. So I've spent the last 5 to 6 years in university. The whole time I've been training as well. So yeah, so split between sports retail and personal training. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Why do I bodybuild? Alright. I bodybuild because it's not just about getting jacked or looking buff in the gym or any of those more shallow sort of reasons, okay? I'm not in this for any of that. I've won a lot of trophies and I like winning trophies. I like winning world championships. But that's also not why I do it. I bodybuild because for me it's about mastery, right? It's not about winning trophies, being attractive, trying to be famous, all that sort of shit, right? I do this because I want to master the craft. That's what I'm in for. So, as I just recently said, I've spent the last 5 years studying exercise science at university. In that time, I've also, on and off, I got my personal training qualifications the first year I did that, so I've worked on and off as a PT for a little bit of extra cash in the industry while I've been doing that, as well as actually working like a real job as well. And I've been competing the whole time I've been doing that. So I suppose when I started this journey a few years back, I didn't want to do it for any other reason but for its own sake. That makes sense. It's about mastery to me. I want to master the craft. I want to take this as far as it can possibly go, both physically, mentally, and professionally, making money with it. So that's why I do it. It's about discipline, and really I pretty much just I have a very Spartan existence. I have a goal that I'm after and I want to obtain it, and not only does bodybuilding provide that for me, but I also want to master the craft itself. Repeated that like 3 times now. Let's have a look. Okay. Tell us a story about the most vivid memory you have from your life. Okay, so this ties all back to that. So the most vivid memory I have is we lost the house. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ, this just got deep. Okay. Was not expecting that. Okay. I've been with my hopefully soon to be wife for 9 years. I was raised in a middle class family. My father and his father and their fathers, so forth, back about 4 generations, they've all been businessmen. So I sort of realised I was screwed from a young age. Like, business was always going to come into it. I also have ADHD, and I was very, very average growing up. My whole ambition growing up was I just wanted to be a soldier. My needs were very simple. I did army cadets through my teens, and I just wanted to grow up and, I guess, be a hero. I just wanted to be an infantry soldier. That's all I aspired to do. I just wanted to be a soldier and be a cage fighter, get an MMA. Around 2012, we had a fallout from the GFC, and it finally caught up with us a couple of years after that. And in 2012, we lost our house. So that was a bad year for me. I had failed to apply getting into the military. I didn't get in, medical reasons, so that's a story for another time, but let's just say, like, I just didn't get in. I tried and I got the final no. So I was applying between 17 and 19, and I got the final no when I was 19 years old in 2012. And we lost everything. My parents also decided they were going to divorce, and Dad moved out. Mum went to a psych ward for 6 months, and the rest of us in the family had to find a way to sell the house and pick up the pieces, sort of between both our parents' distant communication barriers. So around that time I was working a bunch of really shit jobs, and I found myself in a welding shed one day, and it wasn't going well for me. It wasn't my environment. Let's just say I realised, I discovered back then that people don't kill themselves because, or consider suicide because, they're miserable. They do it because they feel like there's no way out. And I remember thinking in that welding shed, if I have to do this for the rest of my life, I just want to hurry up, grow old and die already. I'm 20 years old, and I thought I had bigger hopes and ambitions for myself than this, and yeah, here I am. Here I am doing what I absolutely don't want to do. The environment was miserable. I hated every second of it. I'm now up shit's creek because I don't have a plan B, and I woke up crying every morning that I had to go to work because that just wasn't what I wanted to do. And the way I coped with this was, I thought if I could just sweep floors in a gym, I would be a million times happier than this, because that was my refuge. My refuge was my partner Christy, and training. I've just always trained since I was about 15. I got my first dumbbell set when I was 15, and I was hooked. On and off, concerned with school and girls and social crap and all that sort of jazz, but I always kept coming back to my training. And I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to be involved in fitness in some way, shape or form. And I didn't realise I had ADHD at the time. I ended up finding that out going into my 20s. So looking back on my life, I've never done anything by half measures. I've done everything to an extreme. So I thought, I've always wanted to compete, just to do it once, just to find out. I can't be a personal trainer just like everyone else, but otherwise I'll make no money out of it, and it feels too competitive. And I'd pretty much known all the basic stuff anyway. So I thought, I've gone as far as I can go with like conventional training. They do a degree in exercise and sports science. Let's go and find out the deeper details of things, because I was legitimately always interested in biology and stuff too, right? So I thought, you know what, let's just go full retard with this, let's just do it. Let's just go competing, training, education, business, let's just do all of it. And I found myself enrolled into university as an entry point the next year. So I had to spend a year doing a bridging course to be able to get into the degree the next year. And I did my first chemistry and biology course, and I was absolutely hooked. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I knew that fitness and the deeper level of learning behind, you know, the human anatomy, it's my life. That's what I do. So they say there's two most important times in your life. There's the day you were born and the day you find out why. That's the day I found out what I wanted to do. Okay. What was a trying moment you had to overcome in your life? This one actually wasn't too recently. This one was only 3 years ago now, around this time, back in 2016. I had only been, so I'd found out halfway through when I was 20, so I started my degree when I was 22, okay, and I found out I had ADHD, I had always had ADHD, because I got in there and I wasn't coping. I'd had it as a kid, but they thought back then, you know, you sort of grow out of it, but you know, the science, it's not, it's genetic, you know, you have it, so you have it for life. So I'd found out I have ADHD, so the next year when I was studying, I was 23, I was going back on my meds, so I was back on Ritalin, and I was really not used to the level of tunnel vision it allowed me to do. So I was working 3 part-time jobs. So I was working personal training / like boot camps and like instructing classes, and I was doing my retail job at Rebel Sport, and I was coming back and stacking shelves I was stacking grocery store shelves at night at Woolworths from 8 p.m. to midnight, and I was studying and also studying physics at the time, and I'm not a math guy. I barely passed math in like junior high school for you American guys, and I was doing physics at university with part of my degree, and I was also competing for a Mr. Universe title back then, as well as an Olympia title. And I was doing all that on keto, so that was really, really messed up. And that it nearly broke my relationship up with my partner. It was that bad. So I would go weeks without seeing her. I was so stressed and focused on what I was doing that I thought no one was going to out-train me, no one was going to beat me in competition, no one was going to out-diet me, and all the while I'm not going to let this mathematics, this physics course get it over me, and I'm going to nail everything this year. And I was so aggressive and so hard to live with, and so focused, and so just tunnel vision, I was out of control, that, yeah, it nearly broke me and my partner up. And the funny thing was, when I went to do the Natural Olympia that year, it was the second worst I'd ever looked on stage. I was stringy and I looked starved. And it was the first time I had ever been knocked out of the top 3 in any of my competitions ever. That was the first year I took a placing below 3rd place. And yeah, it taught me a very hard lesson, and that lesson was more is not better. Better is actually better, and sometimes better is doing less of everything you're doing and finding a balance. I look back on it and it was so reckless, because I not only lost the competition, I could have lost the love of my life. And I could have failed my degree because I could have failed the course I was doing because I'd already failed it once before, and I was doing all of this extra crap where I really needed to be knuckling down and studying that specifically. That really, like, the competition is important to me, don't get me wrong, but an education is something you only get so many chances at, right? And from then, I would say I've been a much more balanced person. I've kept my aggression in check a lot, and yeah, I'm not that guy anymore, which I think is good for everyone, including me. Alright, so how would you describe yourself? Okay, so besides all the bodybuilding, I'm actually a massive psychology nut. I study that in my spare time too, so I can give you my whole personality breakdown if you want the short story. So I'm an INTJ in the Myers-Briggs. I'm a 3-4 on the Enneagram, and my 2 highest traits on the Big 5 is openness followed by conscientiousness. So let's just say I'm always thinking, always planning ahead. I love strategy. I like reading about history and war. That's like fuel for my brain. And I can't help but take things to extremes. So most people are actually fighting with the fact that they don't do enough in their life, and they have midlife crises. Well, I had an early life crisis at 20 because at 24 because I was doing too much. So that's pretty much me. Workaholic, but also the most open-minded person you'll probably meet in your life. Jesus, this is taking a while to answer. Benefits of being a natural bodybuilder. Okay. Benefits. Okay, I'll start with probably the answer you're not going to get from anyone else. Alright. So, fun thing about being a natural bodybuilder and a benefit of it. Okay, so let's say you happen to just be like wearing a singlet or a tank top. Okay, like underneath like the evening coat that you wear out in a town. Okay, so, or let's say you wear like it's like a nice fitting shirt or something under your coat, and you go out and be social and all that sort of jazz. Okay, so no one really notices you. You're just like everyone else, because that's part of natural, is like being a natural bodybuilder. You're not too far off the spectrum from everyone else. Okay, so you can wear nice clothes and be completely. You can blend into a crowd. We're not these big geared up guys that are jacked to the teeth. So we don't tend to stand out in a crowd, right? So you're right being social, and all of a sudden things are escalating. People are drinking, you're laughing, everyone's having a good time. Your body temperature heats up, so the coat comes off in the evening, and then all of a sudden, all of these eyes just go. So you go from being perceived as pretty much a nobody it's a bit negative. You go from not being noticed in a social context to being the most noticed person in the room the moment you take your jacket off and they start seeing your muscularity, because nobody expects someone to be like jacked to the teeth in a $150 men's coat. Like, it's just not what normal people expect. And then the coat comes off and your muscles are bulging in that artificial light. And the guys look at you like, and then the girls look at you like. So, let's just say, at that point, it's nice. It's a satisfying realization that you are then. It becomes abundantly clear just how many people in the room underestimated who you were. Because you don't get to have a body like that, without putting in the hours and the time and the meticulous planning that goes along with it, the accountability. And everyone knows that, because most people are trained, right? They know what it takes to actually be a dedicated bodybuilder, even casually. And yeah, they see your body, it's in shape, you pound in a couple of beers or something, but it's in shape, and you're a normal guy at a function event, but everyone in the room sees you. That's definitely a benefit. But no, being serious, natural is good because you don't need to, you don't look extreme. I mean, you look impressive, but you don't look extreme. Obviously, being drug free, there's all the health benefits, because I've got nothing against guys who take steroids. It's just a different, enhanced is just a different way to do the same craft. It's like a natural and enhanced are just sub routes to the same thing, right? So, nothing against IFBB guys or anything. It's just not me. Yeah. It's almost like, don't get me wrong, I think deep down, at least me anyway, like I won't lie about it, I've thought about doing it. Everyone has, you know, we're in this sport to be bigger, better, stronger, you know, like we're people who deal with extremes. It's part of the beauty of this, you know, we have this aggression in us that we get to unleash on the weights, and you know, it takes a certain level of personality trait to be able to do that. But there's something about going down the enhanced route where it's almost like making a deal with the devil. Because in the short term, you very well may look like a god, but let's think like grand strategy for a sec, you know, like all the way down the far end of the road. At the end of it, you eventually have to come off the drugs, and it means you're going to be a shadow of your former self. People have projected all of this mass expectation on this identity that you've created, right? And at some point, you're going to have to come back to being natural anyway, because you can't stay on that stuff for the rest of your life. I mean, you can, but you're going to be walking into some trouble down the road, medically speaking, right? And financially is another thing. There's just something about it that's just not worth it to me in the end. Again, nothing against guys who use, but it's also, you know, would you make all these sacrifices to eventually one day have your liver rot, lose your hair, whatever other side effects that can affect you in some way? Are you willing to make that sacrifice where you will have to face that one day? Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. Just gonna see how this looks.